This next series of videos is going to look at science and a belief in the transcendent reality or God. So let's go back to the transcendent reality. What are we talking about, right? Remember the definition that we settled on earlier was that which transcends or goes beyond everyday human experience. And we see that in two ways. That which is beyond the perception of the five basic senses, right? That which cannot be easily demonstrated through common sense experience. And number two, that which takes us beyond the common perception of ourselves as a separate being, right? As something separate from the rest of existence. This is the invisible connection that we talk about with the transcendent. And the third point we made about the transcendent is that it's not just something that's external. It's not something that's outside of common human experience, but it's present to us in, through, and beyond our everyday experience. So that's the transcendent, right? And not perceptible through the five senses, five basic senses. It's not a gross reality in the technical term. How is it experienced? Through subjective subtle states, feelings, ideas, intuitions, right? It's something that's felt or known in a certain sense, but not something that can be proven, right? It can't be proven or disproven to exist through a scientific method. Why? What does a scientific method do? It uses objective, repeated common observation. You have to repeat the same experiments with the same variables, and different people have to get the same results. Well, that's not going to work with the transcendent, because that's not how the transcendent is experienced. It's not experienced in a way that different people in the same situation get the same results, right? It's more of an interior experience. Now, the point I'm trying to make here, and I want you to really think about this and take it in consideration, what I'm saying is the belief that the transcendent or God exists or does not exist has nothing to do with belief or dedication to science. Why? The scientific method, science itself, is based on repeated common observation of perceptible evidence. So it cannot be used either to prove or disprove the existence of an imperceptible reality. We're talking in the transcendent, something that is unseen, right? Unperceivable. Science cannot test that. So science can neither be used to prove nor disprove. Now, science can make arguments to the possibility of the existence of the transcendent. People might want to use science to show that, say it doesn't look like there's a transcendent, right? People could use science in either of those ways, but in neither case could you prove it, because you're talking about something that is imperceptible. And science deals with what? Common, perceptible evidence, right? Repeated observation. So it's fair to say the scientific method itself is purely agnostic. It does not know and cannot know whether the transcendent exists or not. Now, people often try to use science to validate their belief that there is or is not a transcendent reality or God. For example, the Big Bang Theory. If you're not familiar with it, go look it up. I don't mean the TV show, I mean the scientific theory. Seriously, did you pause the video and go look it up? You really it'll take you a couple minutes. Come on, go ahead, do it. Familiarize yourself with the Big Bang Theory. Know exactly what we're talking about. Okay. Then just come back. Just pause this one and come back. No, just Google it, really. I'll be here. Okay. Glad you did that. Okay, so some scientists say that the Big Bang Theory shows that there doesn't need to be a God for the existence of the universe. And that's true, right? The Big Bang Theory shows that the universe, exploded out of a single point, and it could have just happened all by itself. It doesn't need to be a God for the Big Bang Theory to have created the universe. So now, and here's where they get into something that's not quite rational and is rather unscientific. They say, so then that shows that there isn't a God. Well, no, it doesn't, right? It doesn't. Just because there doesn't have to be a God doesn't mean that it shows that there is not a God, right? People, what this is really saying is that there doesn't have to be a God. It doesn't prove that there's not one, right? Again, if this was the only reason that people believed in a transcendent reality was as evidence for the origins of the universe, then that might be something, but might be a better argument. But this is not the only reason why people believe in a transcendent reality. Right? People believe in a transcendent reality most soundly because of their personal experiences and their interpretations of them, as we covered in previous videos. Now, we talked about how some scientists say that the Big Bang Theory shows that, or gives evidence that there's not a God. Well, guess what? Other scientists say the Big Bang Theory demonstrates that there is a God. Why? Because of that point of matter at the beginning of the universe, right? That point of matter. Where did it come from? So there's this point of matter, but what made that point? What created it? I actually heard a scientist talking about this the other day. They said in recent theories about the point of condensed matter that the Big Bang exploded out of at the beginning of time. Recent mathematical proofs have shown that there was a definite beginning to it. It wasn't just an eternal existence, nor is the universe a cyclical thing that continues to expand and contract. But there must have been a definite beginning to the universe. And then he said, and pointed out that the people who wrote this proof pointed out themselves that this has implications that there is something that must have created that must have come from something else, right? So there must be a transcendent reality that created our perceptible reality. Okay? Now, again, I don't know all the math, but to say that's a proof is taking it a little too far. It might be a sign, right? Again, you cannot prove the existence of the transcendent with science because science can only validate the empirical, perceptual aspects of reality. It can take us to the moment that the Big Bang banged, but it can't take us before that. So even this scientists who say, hey, what made the point? There had to be something that created the point that made that something out of nothing, right? That's a transcendent. And they're taking it a little too far too, right? Because it doesn't prove that. It just shows that it started at this one point. Can't take us before that. It can't prove that there is a transcendent reality that created it. Now, what this proof does do that says that there was a definite beginning to the Big Bang, this argument does demonstrate that it's not irrational or unscientific to believe in the transcendent. You see, and that's really what I'm trying to share with you in this class. I'm not going to prove to you that God exists. I'm not going to prove to you that there's a transcendent. No, that is a matter of faith, right? That's something that you're going to have to look at the evidence yourself, right? That's something that you're going to have to take your personal experiences and look at the way you interpret them and make that decision. But what I can show you in this class, it is not irrational.